Are you struggling to get clients in your real estate business? Well, if so, I'm going to share exactly what to do to get a consistent flow of clients coming in every single week going forward in your real estate business. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Tyler Roicki. I help people build income and wealth in real estate, and I run an international real estate sales organization at eXp Realty. If you get value out of this video, all I'd ask is that you hit the subscribe button. That way I can share more tips and resources with you in the time ahead. That being said, let's get right to it. So there's 4 ways to get leads, quite simply put, and I'm gonna show you exactly where to start. So to break it down, these 4 methods, if you ever heard Alex Hormozi, he breaks this down in his book, $100 Million Leads. Phenomenal read. But to summarize it, your warm market, your cold market, social media, and paid ads. This rings as true to real estate as it will any business out there. And so naturally, you learn getting in the industry, tap into your warm audience, your SOI, which by the way, you should have that. You should have an SOI, but I get it. Some people have a crazy network where they live getting in. Other people just relocated, and you might be in a new market area where you legit know next to nobody. And I've been there, I've done that, I get it. So start with your warm market, but that's not what I really want to say. I'm gonna spend the rest of this video talking about your cold market, because unlike your warm market where you're gonna run out of contacts sooner or later, maybe day one, maybe after working it, your cold market is as large as your market potentially. So that's where the most opportunity will be. Social media, you should be doing that, and it's gonna build over the course of time. Paid ads, that's when you have money to reinvest back into your business, which may not be right now. It may be right now, but I'm gonna assume it's not. And social media, I'm not gonna talk about that in this video, because I wanna show you exactly what to do to get now business, not future business, which social media will help you get future business. So be working on it in the background. But where you're gonna wanna start with your cold market is you want to master a form of prospecting. And what do I mean by prospecting? I mean one of 3 things. You're gonna either cold call, you're gonna door knock, or you're going to host and promote open houses. And you wanna get to a point as quickly as possible where you pick one of those 3 things. It's gonna be your bread and butter. It's gonna be what you do week in, week out, even day in, day out, to make new conversations happen and put yourself in a spot where you could potentially meet someone who needs your help locally. And so I'm gonna share how to go about each, the goal with each, and then what you can do once you see some traction in place, and some important notes on that as well. But here's the thing, let's just address the elephant in the room. No one likes cold calling. No one likes to get cold called either. So there's a lot of tact in how you go about this, but just to be clear, you don't choose cold calling because you love to cold call. There's not really a lot of people that could say that, and I think the ones that can, they might have something going on up in here. But so it's not, the point isn't that you like to do it. The point is that you're gonna do what is required to put your name out there and to make new connections with people. Because you can control the phones. You can control whether or not you dial. You can control whether or not you knock. You can control whether or not you're taking the initiative to host an open house and make sure that people know about it. You can't control if your phone rings for you right here, right now. You can't control if someone sees your post on social media and decides to respond to it. You can't control if someone else sends you business. You can't control what the real estate market's doing. And so I'm glad you watched this far in the video, because a lot of people are checked out and just they have every excuse other than their own actions as to why their business isn't what they want it to be and why they don't have clients. You, on the other hand, you're looking at how we can actually change and address that. And I'm glad you are, because the good news is you can. It's 100% in your control. It doesn't matter if the market is down. It doesn't matter if we went from 6 million homes closed in the US to under 4 million in a 2-year time span. It doesn't matter, because guess what? There's still about 4 million homes selling a year. There's agents selling those homes regardless of who's struggling, who's not. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of the business, and there's plenty of more people who aren't, because they got excuses and they aren't putting their same best foot forward, not in the same way at least. So 1 of 3, right? Because you could do all 3, but I tell you what, you're probably not gonna become a master at all 3 at the same time. It's more likely that you master something if you focus on it. So I want you to pick one that's your focal point. So how to go about each, as far as cold calling, you're gonna wanna pick a list of people to call. Your best bet is anyone who owns a home. An even better bet is someone who raised their hand and is like, hey, I want to sell my home. Who's done that? For sale by owners have done that. Expired listings have done that. Anything that's come off the market that has not sold, that's someone who was at least at a point recently, if not at some point in time, where they were serious about selling. So either they still want to or something changed. If you're talking to these people and they tell you they're no longer interested in selling, ask them that question. What changed? A very important piece of information, because for some people, they're just exhausted. They're tired of trying something that's not working. They want a break. Maybe they are foregoing a dream or goal they had because, they think their home didn't sold and now they're stuck. Well, the right professional can bring a solution to the table and help with that. So it's important to understand that. But as far as like how to get started though, it's easy to pull a list of for sale by owners. You can do that on Zillow. I mean, shoot, you might see a sign in someone's yard. It might not even be online. Definitely jot down the number in that case. But also you can target lists beyond that. So maybe you focus on for sale by owners, expireds, a good portion of agents out there do. So it's good if you're early. Like you either want to be first to call or last to call, or both. When I say first, like, hey, as soon as a for sale by owner pops up, you're among the first to call. Same thing with the expires coming off the market, or the last to call, meaning you're the last man or woman standing in terms of following up and staying in touch, because a lot of people don't really do a good job with that. So if you do a good job on your follow-up, you might just be the last person there to help them when they're actually ready to go. But also be mindful about other lists and like what is a category of someone who would be more likely to need to sell a home. You can think of probate. I mean, any situation where someone died, it might be an inheritance, there might not be any inheritance. Divorces, a lot of bad situations that result in a home selling. There's also a lot of positive situations that result in a home selling. So just think, it's like, hey, how can I obtain a list of those people? Because there's plenty of data providers out there. They'll sell you a list. You can go pull the phone numbers. You could skip trace and get the data that way and get your best possible phone numbers. But just know as well that, hey, if you're hitting the phones, short of for sale by owners who literally put their own phone number on there's going to be a lot of wrong numbers. There's going to be a lot of people that don't answer. Don't let that discourage you, because I'll tell you what, if you're getting a 10% answer rate on any list that you're calling with a great data source, you are rock freaking solid. 10% answer rate, that's on point. If it's a lot less, I would probably look at what's going on with your data. If it's more, I mean, it's probably not going to be more, just being real. So have a healthy expectation. Don't be among those who quit too soon because you made a few attempts and didn't see a result, because the reality is you got to make a heck of a lot of attempts to have any expectation of seeing a result whatsoever. So approach it with that, and your goal is to make as many contacts as possible and to be as efficient and effective as possible with the hours you're going to spend dialing. So, start with at least an hour a day. And as you get more accustomed to that, build it to 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day of time you're literally making dials. That's what I'm talking about. And beyond that, I mean, not a lot of people are going to be on the phone more than 3 hours a day dialing. If you can do that, great. I mean, effectively, as long as you have the time and the day to do it, you should be doing it. But it's also important to build a sustainable habit, something that you can do consistently over a long period of time, because that's how this is really going to work. It's not going to work if you only dial an hour a week. It's not going to, you'd have to have a crazy list of people for that time to actually result in anything. But if you're doing an hour a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and building that to 2, 3 hours, you can get some serious work done, especially if you're hitting a ton of numbers and having a solid amount of conversations in between that. And you're just filtering people out. You're looking for the people that you want to stay in touch with over a longer course of time. So it's okay if you make 3 hours of dials and only come off the phone with 1 or 2 or 3 people that you even want to check back in with in the future. That's fine if that's the case, because you want the result of day in, day out having those new contacts. And you don't need a lot of new contacts a day. You just need 1 or 2 or 3. You have that, mission accomplished. And maybe you talk to a whole lot of other people. You might have talked to 50 other people or something like that you're never going to talk to again. That's fine. That's why we have those calls, just to find out of that 50, that 1 or 2 or 3 that you will stay in touch with in the future. So that's cold calling. Door knocking, very simple. You pick an area that you want to work. So with cold calling, you're kind of picking a demographic, that you want to work, whether for sell by owners, whether it's a particular list. With door knocking, you're more so picking a neighborhood or a location that you want to sell houses in. So that's the biggest thing with that. You choose where you want to work, especially if you have a vision that longer term you want to build this area into a farm, a neighborhood that you're working and becoming a familiar face in and looking to take a solid chunk of the market share as far as all the listings in there. Door knocking is a phenomenal place to start with that vision in mind, but regardless of that, just decide where do you want to sell houses and go knock that area and make it consistent, as far as what you're doing. Again, you should be doing this at least a set amount of time throughout the week. An hour a week is not going to get much done. It would be far better if you did at least an hour a day and that you were super efficient and effective between the doors. But you might go door knock 2 hours, 3 hours, and you might make that a thing that you do several times a week. But the point is, there's a math formula behind this. If you knock 100 doors, you probably get about 30 answers. You get about 30 answers, of the people that answered, you might have a handful of really solid conversations. Of those solid conversations, you might find one person that you really do want to stay in touch with, regarding something y'all talked about that pertained to real estate. Everyone else, you're building yourself up as a familiar face and someone who, over the course of time, they should be associating with some value that they're receiving from you. Not you just like going to the door asking them for business, but you bring in something with you. Like you might have a market update that's for the neighborhood specifically. You might be, from the people you speak with, building your email list. That way you can stay in front of them and provide them some additional value and keep them updated on what's happening in the neighborhood, stuff like that. And then third, promoting and hosting open houses. I'm going to tell you this: if this is going to be your bread and butter, you got to at least do two. You got to at least do two every single week like clockwork. And if you want to do more, go for it. One a week is not going to cut it though. Like one a week, that's telling me you're not really even serious about hosting open houses. You do it like as a hobby. You got to do at least two a week. You can do those on a weekend. Shoot, it could be the same day. You could have an open house in the morning and an open house in the afternoon, however you want to do it. But this is quite simply finding a house to hold open, something listed by your brokerage. If your brokerage doesn't have a lot of listings, you're going to have a hard time. Go somewhere where you have a lot of listings within your brokerage. But if you're a part of a brokerage like the one I run my business with, where we literally sell more houses in the country than anyone, there's going to be a ton of open houses that you could potentially host. So pull a list from the past week, most recent listings, look through that list and call a few of those listing agents. Start from the top as far as which ones you would want to host. And great criteria is something that is around the median price point in your local market, a house that is, very popular in your local market. So for instance, in my market, that might be a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, median price point, regular neighborhood. It's like that's going to be a hot item on the market. So whatever a hot item is on the market where you're at, that's going to get the most eyes on it, especially as a new listing, and essentially the most traffic, because it's something that people haven't seen before, at least recently. So you're going to start there. So anything that meets that criteria, call the listing agents and quite simply introduce yourself. Say, hey, this is so-and-so with XYZ brokerage. I saw you had 123 Main Street listed. By any chance, would you and your seller be open to me hosting an open house for you all this weekend? I'd love to do it Saturday or Sunday. What works best for y'all? And then they might need to check with the seller. They might tell you yes, they might tell you no. But I'll tell you what, if you call 4 or worst case 5 listing agents and ask them all that question, at least one of them is going to say yes. At least one. You might have a couple that say yes. So expect that. Don't worry about if they say no. It doesn't matter. Any decent listing agent, if you're calling them about their listing, will answer it or at least get back to you in a timely fashion. So just put that on the table. Open houses are very common. Not everyone likes hosting their own. So you're going to be doing someone a favor if they didn't want to do that in the first place, especially if their seller was, hoping that they would host one. So bring that to the table and just make that a part of your process every week. Get the open house at the beginning of the week. Go and host it on the weekend. That way you have a few days where it's going to be posted online that there's an open house happening so that you actually get people that show up to it. By the way, what's your goal with the open house? Well, it's to come out of it with one solid contact. So you might have 3 visitors, you might have 10 visitors. Heck, if you're doing a mega open house, you might have 30, 40, 50 plus visitors. That would be phenomenal. That would be crazy. But even so, if you can come out of that thing with one solid prospect, someone who has a timeline, a motivation to buy or sell real estate. Probably buy if they're coming to an open house, but you might be the neighbors. But regardless, if you come out of there with one solid contact, someone who's not already working with an agent, and you have the possibility that you could help them with the next steps forward, mission accomplished. If you find 2 or 3, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's icing on the cake and a cherry on top. You didn't even need to have it, and it happened. That might happen from time to time. But if all you get is one solid contact, mission accomplished, rinse and repeat, go and do it again. So have a healthy expectation with it, and because it's consistency. You know, it's doing a couple of those a week. It's knocking the doors. It's making the calls. Whatever you're gonna do, if you're coming off that activity with one solid new contact, you are rock solid, because all you need is to do that time and time and time again. And before you know it, you've got a whole pipeline overflowing with contacts that you're staying in touch with and that you're helping with the next steps forward when it's time to do so. And so as you're doing that, I'm telling you, if you're doing enough of your chosen activity that you picked week in and week out, you're not going to have a shortage of new conversations and contacts, and you're not going to have a shortage of new business ultimately, you know, coming as a result of that. And so as you're closing deals, take a portion of that and reinvest it into paid ads, into getting yourself in front of more people. And you do that, you will continue to grow and scale your business. So if you've been struggling to get clients up to this point, I can guarantee you haven't done what I just shared with you consistently for long enough. You might have tried it a little bit, but I'm telling you, get your expectation in check and make sure that it's something where at the end of the day, you're not the reason why you're not succeeding. Like you spending the time, energy, and effort and putting your best foot forward shouldn't be the reason, because this stuff works in every single market. It works if you do. Most people aren't going to go out and spend the time to make these conversations happen, but that's in your hands. It's in your control. So go take control of your business and your life and go out there and freaking make it happen. And you know what? When you build a big enough client base, there will come a time in your journey where you don't need to make the cold calls, where you don't need to like do the open houses if you don't want to. Some people, you know, long term, they continue to do it because they love it. They find some joy in making the connections and going about an effective way for their sellers as they start to get listings. But regardless, start with where you're at and get to a point where you have more options as to how you can go about getting your business beyond cold methods, because everyone starts somewhere, and this is that somewhere for you if that's where you're at. So go and apply it. And I'll tell you, I'll leave you with one more thing. If there's anything regarding dialogues, how to you speak to people and go about that process, or, you know, just like I said, any fine details as far as how to do this in the most effective way possible, I'd love to know what me and my team can do to actually help you dial that stuff in. So I welcome you to schedule a call with me. You'll find a link in the description below, as well as some additional resources. I help my team actually dial in their dialogues and to where they're getting more results as they're going about these activities. There's a lot of times where I've taken someone who absolutely fumbled an opportunity with the prospect, and you know, we worked on the dialogue, and then they call them back same day and set an appointment. So if you're struggling with stuff like that, book a call. I'd be happy to see how I can best help and what we can bring to the table to help you dial that stuff in. And if you got value out of this, all I ask is you hit the subscribe button. That way I can share more tips and resources with you in the time ahead. And all that being said, thank you for watching the video. I'll see you next time.